Talking with the experts.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. My name's Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. And Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. And you can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And today my guest is Kris Ward. And Kris Ward is the go-to person for everything. She lost her biggest support sometime, and it felt like demand on her had increased by 10. So imagine if you were paddling with someone in a canoe, and now imagine if they took the other paddler away and they added weight to the boat and turned you around and you had to paddle upstream by yourself. Perhaps there is some cliffs and some white water rapids that popped up randomly when you didn't expect it. And that's how Kris felt. So she started a business, and it's called Win the Hour, Win the Day. And I think that's a terrific name. And we're going to be talking about team building. Welcome, Kris. How are you today?
Oh, I'm all pumped and ready to go.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So tell me a little bit more about your business, because you sound very inspiring about what you've done to turn your life around.
So I'm not sure my life was turned around. What happened was I'm a marketing strategist and I was in business the first couple of years, like so many people, just working insane, crazy hours, like day, night and day. And, people reported that I was starting to lose some of my charm. And I thought, yeah, that can't be. And my husband was my biggest supporter. And now all of a sudden you're snapping at him because you're tired. And, he was always cheering me on so enthusiastically. So I thought, well, I got to look at this differently. Like, I had mentors that talked to me about different things, but I was a go-to person for a lot of people in my life. And I got a lot done in a day. So I kind of thought I'm organized. What more can be done? And so I started to feverishly examine, team building and productivity and all that, sort of spoke to me about. And, to move the story along, I went from working 16 hours a day down to 6. It was unbelievable. But the big lesson was how much I had been working against myself. And it was, I just didn't realize how all that work that I thought was noble was actually to my deficit. And so I turned it around, and luckily I did, because it was a couple of years after that my husband had been diagnosed with colon cancer, and I had been pulled away from the business. And when I was pulled away from the business, when I returned after his passing, my existing clients had no idea of my absence, none. And they started to ask me, like, how did I manage that? Like, we just didn't feel it was good for business, and we were very positive in nature. So we didn't, we felt that if the doctors are wrong, we sat around for 2 years crying, holding hands. If the doctors were right, we sat around the last 2 years holding hands and crying. So, so then my existing clients started to ask me about if I could work with them under the capacity of team building. And that's really how Win the Hour, Win the Day was born. I started working with them, and then more people wanted help. And then I really wanted to create a movement where your business supports your life instead of consuming it. And so I thought, well, let me write a book and see how many more people I can reach.
Excellent. So firstly, before we go any further, where is the book available?
You can buy the book on, Amazon, no matter where you are. That's the quickest and easiest place to grab it.
Absolutely wonderful. That's a great start. Amazon, go to Amazon. Amazon has everything.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you advise would be the first steps in building a team?
Well, really, boy, oh boy, until you have a team, I call it your win team, your what is next team. So really, when you're an entrepreneur, it's about getting ideas to execution. That's it. And so when you look at somebody, you've got a little professional jealousy, you think, oh, how they're always getting stuff done, or they have more resources, or they're lucky. They're just getting ideas to execution. That's it. And so the win team, what is next, allows you to get to what is next, what is next. And so really, you definitely need to start a team like day one. And I use the word team, but I'm all about having a lean team. Like you can have 2-3 people, and you're like, we get a lot done. We have a podcast, the Win the Hour, Win the Day podcast, where we talk about general business, how to get to your next win now. I've written a book. I'm going to be writing another book. I guest on other shows. We've got info products. We do different levels of coaching, group coaching. We're starting this masterclass. I do all those things, and I have a team of 4. right? So, you really can do well with a team, one or two extra people, but it's really not about the bodies. It's about how it's set up. And that's what I call our 60-40 win formula. And that means that you should be in, most entrepreneurs are in the web of admin at least 80% of the time. But the 60-40 win formula, we believe you should be in creation mode 60% of the time and admin mode 40% of the time, because you always need to be getting that next thing out. You didn't start a business just to run a business and be caught up in the paperwork. So you really want to have a team that allows you to constantly be utilizing that 60-40 win formula.
Yeah. So what about the 80-20 rule?
Well, you know what? We can debate all kinds of other rules out there. The whole idea of eat the frog, do that thing you don't want to do first. I disagree with that as well. So I think those rules are very, they have their own lane, but it's not a concept I buy into. I don't, that's a whole different mindset, the 80-20 rule. So what we're talking about, strategy and executing.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't follow the 80-20 rule either.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit silly.
Yeah.
But then, it's horses for courses, I guess. Whatever suits some, doesn't actually suit others. So
yeah, there's lots of flavors of ice cream out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how does, team building build into personal development?
Well, it's all about personal development, because first of all, if you're running around like what I used to call myself, a rushaholic, I'm now a recovering rushaholic, and there's no time for personal development at all. I mean, studies show that when you are fatigued and tired, it's just not how the brain performs at any sort of peak level. You're impatient, you're more emotionally sensitive, your logic is diminished. And also, studies show that in all mankind, the best and most powerful inventions came in times of relaxation and play. That's when the mind does best. And so when you're rushing, there's no time for anything. So first of all, I would argue is personal development. You definitely want to have that in your life, and you can't if you're running around what I call in hysterical mode, right? So there is that. And then having a team, that really, a rising tide lifts all ships. And so, man, do you really get to learn about yourself when you have a team that just really empowers you and encourages you, and you're moving together forward. So I think it really enhances and grows your personal development.
Yeah, yep, I agree. And I'm a lifelong learner, and I'm, the next shiny object in learning I'm in for. So just so I can, either keep up with the trends or just better myself, or just because I can. Yeah, I just like it. It's good. And, if I'm learning something new, I think it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I want to get up every day and do today better than I did yesterday. And you know what? You get the luxury of doing that when you have what we call a what is next team, because then you have room and space, as my clients call it, white space on your calendar, so that you can explore those things and you can do it in an effective and timely manner, instead of beating yourself up that you didn't get to this. And you're, oh, never mind that learning. I'm catching up over here. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm all about that.
Yeah. 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 I was the same when I went back to school, like in my 40s. I went back to college to learn. I did 3 courses in 2 years, and honestly, it was the best thing I ever did. And now I just do courses online, and sometimes I get waylaid because of business, but because they're online, you usually get lifetime access to them, so you can do them anytime. And I've done quite a few, so it's really good like that. So what else is there? Let's see. Scheduling is a really good tool for team building. Tell me how your team manages that.
Well, it's bigger than scheduling. It's really about the strategy, again, of always taking anything that you're doing and you're going to want to compress that. So what I would say is, if you're doing something, how we're always looking at, we have little scrum meetings a couple times a week, and those are just teeny little bursts of meetings. If you can't do a meeting standing up, it's too long. So we might have a meeting for, 15, 20 minutes with the 3 of us, couple times a week. And we're always tweaking and looking at what we're doing. And we're always saying, okay, if this is 12 steps, how can we get it down to 8? Because again, we want to follow that 60-40 rule. We want to be doing more things. And as I mentioned with our Win the Hour, Win the Day podcast, in the fall, we're going to be going to 2 episodes a week. So we're going to double our output, but our workload is only going to increase 12%. So you want to really have a strategy. And these things, they're not difficult, but the strategy is really important. So when I talk to people about creating a team, I'm not talking about hiring a VA, taking stuff off your desk and dumping it on theirs. And then you've got this parentified model where you check on them, like a parent teacher thing. Are they doing it? All that stuff. Really, if your team is set up the way we do, and with my coaching clients and group coaching clients, and now our master class clients, what happens is the team really manages you. And their schedule's constantly being compressed as well. So, for example, think of something simple like, you're making pasta and you think, oh, okay, it's really simple. Like, you're in college and you got a jar of sauce and you've got noodles, no big deal. But, if you didn't know to cook those noodles, very simple step, but very important, it's really going to be night and day in your results. Warm pasta sauce on top of hard noodles, not the same recipe, right? So it's not rocket science. A lot of people can do it. It's really easily done, but the strategies are in play and super important. So it's so much bigger than people understand. It's not just about hiring bodies and getting a VA. A VA isn't the answer. What you really want to do is create what we call what is your next team?
Yeah. So I guess strategy, that brings us to a great point, is about strategy and how, got the 60-40 rule, but tell me how, broaden that out a little bit and how people can understand it.
Sure. In what capacity?
Well, I guess, we talked about the 80-20 rule, which is most people have been brought up with the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
So tell me how your 60-40 rule differs from the 80-20 rule, or is it the same and just tweaked a little bit more?
Well, no, because one is outcome, one is how you do it, and the other is the outcome. So the outcome is you should be in creation mode 60% of the time and in admin mode 40% of the time. Yeah. So where most entrepreneurs are in the web of admin, they're chasing the paperwork 80-90% of the time, and then they try to crawl out of that. I know I did that for years. I'd be like, oh, I have to learn this new thing. So I'll do that tonight when I'm done my work at 4 o'clock. Oh, at 5 o'clock. All of a sudden, I'm now trying to take an info course at 8 o'clock at night because I was in the web of admin the first couple of years I was in business 80% of the time. Whereas now it is really compressed for me and my team and my coaching clients that it's a very small portion of my week is the admin part. And the other part is executing the next thing, because everything is really about being an entrepreneur. It's getting to the next thing. It's either, starting your podcast or increasing the volume or writing a book or writing the next book or doing coaching from one-to-one to one-to-many. You always, all you do is climb up that mountaintop and then see the next mountain. And what I'm saying is you don't need to climb it up and slide back down and have bloody knuckles and do all these crazy things. It's really profoundly, simple and strategic if you have the concept. And the type of people I work with, oh my gosh, they look so good on paper. They're running around, they look good online. And then all of a sudden I might do a show like this. And all of a sudden I'm talking to somebody afterwards. They're like, oh my heavens, Kris, you know what? You really talked to me because I'm actually still working insane hours. Like I did the first 2 years as a business. And I thought that would melt away, and it didn't. And it kind of reminds me of, it's sort of like what people don't understand is it's like if I asked you to picture, say you have a house plant. And you're looking at this plant and you go, oh, this is really great. I got a house plant. I kept it alive. I'm fantastic. Look at me. And then you go out and you say, I'm going to get another one. And then you're really excited. You kept 2 house plants alive. Then you think, you know what? I should be a farmer. But what happens is the 2 house plants to the farm is really about executing and yielding a high outcome, right? And so many people, when they start their business, they go from 1 client to 3 to 7, and they then start chasing the keep up. Oh, once I get caught up, once I get this. And they don't understand the infrastructure, the strategies, the setup is the backbone to the business. And it doesn't fall into play just because your business is growing. Because what will happen is your business will grow. You might even make more money, but you're not bringing more money home, and you drop the ball and you upset people and you're stressed. You're working all those hours and all that stuff. So going from one client to 5 to 7, and then you think, oh my gosh, in fact, I need more money and more business and I can barely keep up. So what people don't seem to, what the world's not educating you on is it's not going to fall into grace and everything's going to fall into place just because you've been in business 5 years. That's not the outcome. The outcome is it's great to get more business, but you doing what you do is different than what I do. And it's a whole nother career. Most people don't understand that.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen people, are Rushaholics, like you were, and it's always, hustle to get the next client or get the next, $10,000 a month or whatever. But, they have no time with their families and they're just so busy. But sometimes it is busy being busy rather than busy doing something. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think but I do think their heart's in the right place. And what happens is they're told that being a hard worker is part of the entrepreneur process. And then you beat your chest and you feel proud. Like I know throughout most of my life, people would tell me I was such a hard worker. And oh my gosh, I remember saying to my mother one day, who knew I'd have to unlearn working hard isn't the answer. That is the biggest compliment you could get. Right. So sometimes they're also just chasing the wrong thing, especially in this age where, oh, well, what if this software does this for me? Or what if I could do that? Or I could save time here. And what I would tell you is the tools that I use and the most successful and financially free people in the world, most of them are free. It's not the tool, it's the strategy, right?
How you use it. Yeah.
Yeah. A hammer does not make me a good carpenter, I assure you.
No, it doesn't. No, and I've seen some shocking carpenters, trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a really good explanation. Thanks for that. I really it really brought it home to me that the explanation was totally real and better than some I've heard. So learning, we've talked about personal development and we've talked about strategy and how you don't need to work stupid hours in your business to make stuff work. You just need to be smarter about how you do that. So have you got any sort of other hints and tips that you could, along those lines that you could impart with us today?
So many people think, that it costs a lot of money to have a team. So how my team started many, many years ago is, I was still I went virtual a long time ago. Even when my business was down the street, it was just easier to have back-to-back appointments on Skype and show them my screen desktop versus trying to explain to them in their office and do all this stuff. But many years ago, the first couple of years I was in business, if I was going into a potential client's office, I sat there, I took notes, and I was writing it down. And what would happen is I would promise hand to God that I would go back to the office and put these notes right in the computer. But of course I would get busy and distracted. So I would promise I would get that in, Friday. So sometimes it was Friday, sometimes it was the next Friday. And then the potential client would call and they'd ask me questions about it. And I got the opportunity to be one of two people. One, you could hear me scrambling, trying to, figure my notes out because they were meant for 20 minutes, not for 2 weeks. And two, what if I could misquote them and underquote myself or do whatever, or look like I'm trying to swindle them when in fact, I'm just, the notes are meant for 20 minutes. So I thought this cannot be it's just such a dangerous game I was playing. It was very stressful and it would take me all Friday afternoon to figure out my notes and all this stuff. Cause again, they were meant for 20 minutes. So then I thought, okay, what can we do differently? So my first outsourcer, I found somebody to do transcriptions. Now, I don't get this, but she loved doing transcriptions. She had 10 clients. It's all she did. So she was really fast. So I would leave the potential client's office and I would just sit in the car and I would talk into my phone and do an audio file. She would transcribe it, put it right into the client's, notes online, and they'd be there within hours and so detailed because that was fresh in my mind and I'm just talking and it's so easy. Now, some weeks I needed her for 3-4 hours of meetings. Some weeks I needed her for none. But the weeks I needed her a lot, it was like $12 because she was so fast at it. And it was her zone of genius. And so I thought, oh my gosh, for $12, I got rid of so much stress. I got all Friday noon back And then, I never made clearly I was charging my clients more than $12. So I didn't make a mistake and lose a client. And that's how it started for me. And the lesson here, what I invite you to sort of think about is these things pay for themselves. And so, again, I encourage you to understand that getting a VA and just putting them beside you and monitoring their work is not building a team. Because you'll just be worse off when they, if they move on or as the business grows, you can't duplicate, that work. So you really want to be mindful that you're creating a team, but with the right strategies in place, you really can duplicate work really efficiently. And again, free up more and more of your time so that you can be out there doing what you love to do in a creative element, making impact on the people you want to make an impact on and not be what I call a sufferpreneur.
Yeah, that's a good word too. Yeah. And I like your strategy about talking into your phone, into an audio program. That's a great idea. One of my business friends does that, and she is forever, sending stuff off for transcription because, it just said meetings and you take notes and, by the time you get back to the office, you think, oh, what did I write here? Or what did that mean? Or whatever. So yeah, that's a really great idea.
Well, and even now my poor transcriptionists have been replaced by so many very cheap, I always send it to somebody on my team if I need something transcribed, but then they just plug it into a software that's pennies, right? So even that $12 got cheaper. It's even cheaper now.
Yeah, I use, for my podcasts, I use a transcription thing for, it's not totally accurate, but it's close enough for the show notes because I can just change them. So it's not a big deal, but it saves me time.
Yeah.
So it's a great program. And I think it costs me like $10 a month or something. So it's not overly expensive. And I do like 6 or 8 podcasts a week. So it's very cost efficient.
Yeah.
So any sort of last wise words, Kris?
Yeah. Well, right now we are actually, for the first time, we're starting a we're going to be doing a free mastermind inside our group. We just started a new group and we're going to be giving all kinds of behind the scenes secrets and show you how to do things. And it's just going to be, I'm really wanting to over deliver because I really do want to create a movement where your business supports your life instead of consuming it. So I would really invite and encourage everyone to check us out on Facebook and join our community. Tell me that you heard me on this fantastic podcast and we'll be fast friends. And check out some really awesome things that we're working on that will really sort of just show you that the way you're doing it, grinding it out, is outdated, unnecessary, and really limiting your potential beyond any understanding that you have. I mean, most of my clients tell us that within the first month of working with us, that they get 25 hours back a week within the first month of working with us.
Wow, that's a lot of hours. Yeah,
it is a lot. And it's consistent across the board. They tell me that all the time. So definitely check us out, join the community and see what you can do. Well, picture what you could do with that free time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You could go, I don't know, on holiday. Yeah. So what's the name of the group, Kris?
Yeah, so it's just check us out, Win the Hour, Win the Day group, or go to Kris Ward and reach out to me there on Facebook or anything like that. For your audience, you could also check out, I've got a free gift from Kris, KRIS.com, free gift, GIFT, from Kris, KRIS.com. And we've got some real goodies in there as well. We even have the ultimate guide to getting a co-op student 200 plus free hours. We've had about 30, 40 co-op students now. You can do that throughout the world. And each one of them comes with 200 hours that they have to fulfill to get credits. So we can show you how to do that. That's not, that's icing on the cake. You can't rely on them as far as your team because they rotate. So you don't want to, that's a short-term answer, but it sure does. It's a bonus when you've got some overflow work for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So where else can they find you other than Facebook? LinkedIn, I'm assuming?
Yeah, LinkedIn for sure. Google me, I'm everywhere.
All right, lovely. All right, Kris, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a fascinating discussion about teamwork. And it's certainly a different perspective on the usual, stuff that people talk about building teams. So thank you so much. It's been great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kris.